Bully boy Prince Harry is using his usual tactics to try and force the king into a meeting in London next month. I want the monarch to hold strong, to hold firm, especially after this despicable leak to the Daily Mirror in the UK today. Prince Harry set to meet King Charles on UK return, but William rejects reunion. They trumpet their exclusive, saying relations between the Duke of Sussex and the King have begun to ease, following an informal peace summit with Buckingham Palace officials as Harry is due to fly back into London. Then, crucially, the reporting comes from its US editor, Chris Buckton. Yes, the bloke that's based in Los Angeles. I wonder why. He writes, the two have not seen one another since January last year, a period in which His Majesty has been undergoing treatment for cancer. A US source told the Mirror. In other words, this has come directly from Montecito. It's clear there is now a determination on both sides to make this happen. Nobody is pretending the wider family issues have been resolved, but this is about beginning with Charles and Harry. For the first time in a long time, there's a genuine sense that reconciliation is within reach. Prince Harry's team and the palace have opened a line of communication, and there is every hope that father and son will see one another when the Duke returns to London in September. They continued after 20 months apart, and with the King continuing his treatment, the feeling is that the time is right to take that step. This is not about grand gestures or set-piece meetings. It's about a simple face-to-face conversation between a father and his son. Then this line, I can't even read it out, I will, but it's so bloody ridiculous. The priority is privacy and dignity, but also ensuring the door stays open for future dialogue. As for Harry and William, though, any chance of reconciliation between them has been rejected out of hand. Straight to royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz. Tash, if Prince Harry had any sense that King Charles's privacy mattered, that King Charles's dignity mattered, there would not have been this leak to the Daily Mirror. I feel like Harry is trying to bully King Charles into a meeting now. I really want the palace to hold firm, but I am concerned.
It's a bit of an own goal, really, because I believe, much like yourself, that Harry is doing this for selfish reasons. I don't think it's got anything to do with him wanting to truly make amends with his father. He needs content. He needs that royal association. They both do. Their relevancy is in decline every single day. And I believe that this leak, there's a bit of me that's unsure whether it's Harry doing it or whether it could be someone obviously in Montecito that is actually doing it, because perhaps they don't want the meeting to happen. A bit of a, as I said, it would be an own goal if Harry was leaking it, because surely this will make his father make sure that the drawbridge stays firmly up. If he gets leaks now and the courtiers get leaks that Harry is now already selling stories to the newspapers and running to them, then they've not got any hope of having any sort of privacy, or anything that can be discussed will remain private. So it's hard to understand if Harry does genuinely want to meet with his father. Why on earth is this leak happening?
Because, Tash, it just hasn't come from anyone connected to the royals. I mean, it's coming out of the US.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to their, because again, I know the nuts and bolts in terms of how these newspapers work. This leak is not to its royal editor, Russell Myers, but rather to its US editor, Christopher Buckton.
Fresh chatter says Meghan Markle's latest relaunch fizzled again, and instead of a reset, the fallout allegedly triggered a hard push from Prince Harry for a face-to-face with King Charles. The pattern critics point to feels familiar: a splashy rollout, soft sales or mixed reception, and then a sudden burst of royal family drama. This time, reports claim Harry is pressing for the meeting on his terms, right as headlines about Meghan's stalled projects pile up. None of this is confirmed by the palace, but the optics are rough. When her ventures wobble, the spotlight shifts back to Windsor.
It's definitely coming from their camp.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm in two minds whether Harry is aware of it. Does he genuinely want to meet with his father and someone's trying to sabotage that, a bit like that meeting that was revealed with Meredith Maines? Or are they in on it? Are they hoping that the king does shut down this meeting and Harry can play victim again, saying, oh, my father refuses to meet me. I've tried, I've given them olive branches. It's this constant victim narrative that Harry and Meghan try to peddle and push. But you're right, the king, this needs to be a precursor of what exactly is going to happen. It's obvious what's going to happen. If he does meet him, it will be leaked.
The irony for me is that I believe Harry is now doing exactly what he used to accuse the royal family of doing, which is that he knows the way to set the mainstream agenda and to get to the heir of the king is to use the British MSM, the British tabloid newspapers. So what he's trying to do, because remember, Charles still will not pick up his phone calls, Tash. Charles will not communicate with him directly in writing either. So what Harry, I believe, is trying to do here is say, Papa, these are the terms that I'm prepared to meet. This isn't a big grand gesture. This is just a father and a son meeting up. But the irony of using the press to leak that, I think, blows to smithereens his argument. And remember as well, Charles has to consider William's feelings in this. Because, Tash, again, we know Kensington Palace and William's side are saying nothing about Harry officially, right? So again, this rejection of a meeting, this idea of trying to present Harry as the sort of hapless victim who's desperately trying to meet up with his brother and being rejected by the Prince of Wales, that again can only be coming from his side. It's totally disingenuous because again, what is never mentioned in any of these source quotes, Tash, is the reason that William has made this lifelong decision to cut off his younger brother and to keep him in exile in California. Not a word of that.
No, I mean, it's always going to be Prince William is still the villain. But I also think with Harry, with recent stunts that he's done, I mean, it shows that he has no intention of stopping, I would say, targeting certain people in the family, including Queen Camilla. Let's not forget that when the King and Queen were going on that trip to Rome, which just happened to coincide with their wedding anniversary, 20 years, I think it was. And then, of course, Harry went to China. And that got leaked, didn't it? Literally the timing of it again. And then you had Queen Camilla's birthday, when, of course, that was again timed 365 days in the year. And Harry decides to go over for the photo shoot, walking in his mother's footsteps, of course. We saw Harry retracing Diana's steps on Queen Camilla's birthday. Harry is still very bitter and vengeful towards Camilla, and he's still very bitter and vengeful towards his brother. And he is going to continue painting himself to be a victim in all of this. And we know that there are certain mainstream media outlets, more than others, that are hell-bent on trying to paint Prince William a villain, as we've previously discussed. And Prince William is not a villain here. There is only one villain in that family, and he's currently in Montecito.
Yeah, and I think, Tash, as well, this whole talk that, oh, Harry needs access to the royal diaries so he doesn't keep on planning these stunts. It's just complete bullshit yet again. I mean, he knows it was Camilla's birthday. He knows the date of Camilla's birthday. He still went ahead with the stunt. So he's playing games. He is playing games. It's really divided in terms of whether Charles will go through with this meeting. Tom Sykes, who I had on yesterday, European editor-at-large of the Daily Beast, but also Behind the Royalist Substack, he says he doesn't think Charles will meet with Harry, but clearly this is the Mirror coming out and saying, we're going to make this public, we're going to draw this line in the sand, because if Charles doesn't do this now, he looks like the bad guy. Harry is just so concerned about how he is presented in the mainstream media. He is obsessed with it. He always has been obsessed with it. And remember, Tash, a lot of this is just about how he feels his PR is being driven into the ground and his approval ratings are being driven into the ground. Because if he were to arrive in London, be pictured at the Well Child Awards, which we know is happening, obviously without Meghan, Archie or Lily. If he were to do that and there was no public posturing about a potential meeting with his father, that would make him look bad. So again, I think this is all about him. It's trying to protect his reputation. It's trying to turn him into the victim. It didn't work last year. I don't think it will work this year. Personally, I just really hope the king holds firm. I hope he does take into consideration William's feelings. I hope he does take into consideration Camilla's feelings. Remember the last time that they met, it was done at Clarence House. It was incredibly brief because Camilla, even though there's some conjecture about whether she was actually in the room or not, she was absolutely there overseeing it and making sure that she could whisk her husband straight off afterwards and sort of calm him down. Because remember as well, Tash, there's no guarantee that this is going to be a calm meeting, given that Harry continues to have his number of grievances, including the ongoing legal cases, which put Charles in just a terrible and precarious position.
Here's where the timing raises eyebrows. King Charles is navigating health concerns, constitutional duties, and non-stop scrutiny. According to insiders, rather than reduce the pressure, Harry is allegedly ratcheting it up, insisting on access now. Supporters frame it as a son seeking reconciliation. Detractors call it opportunism. The harsher read? This isn't bridge building, it's leverage. When a public setback lands in Montecito, royal tension flares in London. Whether you see a worried son or a tactical squeeze depends on where you stand, but either way, it's combustible.
Yes, I mean, I remember as well after that meeting in Clarence House, Harry appeared being interviewed the following day, didn't he, by Will Reeve, when it was meant to be about the Invictus Games. And Harry was talking about his father's battle with cancer, and it was clearly obvious that Camilla and the king didn't give him any information, because I'm pretty certain it would have come out in that interview that was advertised as an update to the king's health. Harry clearly cannot be trusted, and I think his motives are definitely selfish. I believe that he is desperate to get near his father, but I don't believe for a second it's anything to do with him worrying about his father's health, or it's to do with him finally saying, I'm so sorry for what I did to, my grandma, for granddad. I'm so sorry for the accusations that I did. I'm aware of the damage. He's still to this day shows no signs of being apologetic for anything he's done, including allowing Omid Scobie to call the king a royal racist. Harry still hasn't called that out and said that's not true, and that is something that's got to stick very hard, I'm sure, in the king's side. I mean, this is his son that could have stopped this by shutting it all down. It's his son that started all of this in the first place. So I think Charles, if it is true and he is going to meet with him, I think it's a mistake, and I think he's going to find out very, very quickly, if he does meet up with him, that what we're predicting will be correct. I'm pretty certain that every tiny detail of anything that's discussed will come out. And then, of course, Harry's painting him into a corner, because if the king now refuses to meet with him, it's going to be, oh, poor Harry, oh, evil King Charles, evil Prince William. Everybody's bored of this narrative.
Tash, do you obviously, as you allude to, obviously there is a motivation by the mainstream media to keep this going too. They want a new storyline. They want the reconciliation. The Daily Telegraph has basically admitted that. The Daily Mail is having all-out war, as we've previously discussed with William and Catherine, and the Daily Mirror now leading the charge for Harry as well. So I think it's really unfortunate that the mainstream media just want a story. This isn't about a story. It's about what's right. It's about what's right for the monarchy. And no one was suggesting that the Duke of Windsor and Wallis Simpson should be brought back into the fold after a couple of years. Sometimes there are consequences for your actions. And the consequence, Harry, is that you're in exile. I think we've also got to think about, Tash, the commercial reasons behind this too, from Harry's perspective. I mean, my God, we knew with Love Meghan Series 2 was going to be bad. It was bad. I think, how much did you get through, Tash? 4 episodes?
I got into 12 minutes in the 4th episode, and then I couldn't.
What was the final straw?
I just couldn't. What was the final straw?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just when she started talking about traditions being passed down in the family to the Persian chef, and I just thought, how can she say that when she's taken? That's it, Nasat, isn't it? They've taken their children away from everything, and I mean, you cannot get more traditions with the royal family. I mean, obviously, you've still got Thomas Markle, I'm sure, who would dearly love to meet his grandchildren before
Desperately.
time comes. But yes, I mean, for her to be stood there with a straight face, talking about hosting for friends and family and showing that you care. And then that bit when she was on about it's so important to pass traditions down. And I'm thinking of everything she stripped away from those two children. And I just couldn't take it anymore, Dan. Had
No,
to
that
throw
was the
towel
final
in.
straw. I fully understand. But most people, Tash, haven't even gone in at all.
No.
I mean, the
I hate
new
watching.
numbers are terrible. Look at this from Royally Sage, who says, our blackout on Rachel's show is working. The engagement factor is slipping. My God, it is. Number 85, Tash. I mean, it hasn't made it into the top 10 of
Nope.
any of the YouTube major markets. And the Royal News Network pointed out after The Hollywood Reporter wrote season 1 of the Duchess of Sussex's Netflix series With Love, Meghan should have served as a taste test. Instead, the host and executive producer's lack of substitutions make for an equally bland second season. Wrote, honestly, after the criticism of the first season, Meghan should have scrapped what they had and refilmed everything. The absolute collapse of the show on its second outing proves the first was a fluke, and Netflix knew that. It's why they didn't pay a dime to promote it. And interestingly, Tash, our friend Lady Colin Campbell has now waded through all 8 episodes too.
Some commentators say this has Meghan's fingerprints all over it. Her brand needs stabilizing, and a royal subplot always dominates the news cycle. That's the narrative, at least. Meghan positions herself as unfairly targeted. Harry rides to the rescue, and the firm becomes the foil. Fair or not, Hollywood math is unforgiving. Spotify pulled back. Netflix patience is rumored to be thinning, and the power couple premium fades if they aren't moving units. Separate, they look less like a movement and more like two celebrities fighting for relevance. If every business dip is followed by a family flare-up, partners and platforms get wary fast.
And she says, aside from the distaste Meghan generates as an inevitable consequence of her artificiality, the most striking feature was how she simply cannot help being counterfactual. One really would have to have a heart of stone not to pity her. She comes across as pathetically desperate. Sometimes this approximates to earnestness, but more often than not, it is unalterated desperation. Desperation to please, desperation to be authoritative, desperation to seem gracious, desperation to be relatable, desperation to seem loving. Not very convincing when mentioning love and family in the same sentence, quite forgetting that people's memory is not quite as short-term as her own, and possibly the only people who aren't au fait with the alienation she has wrought in Windsor, Markle and Johnson families of the hidden tribes, and the rainforest in Brazil, and Harry and herself. The viewing figures have been so dire that it will be a miracle if there is ever another series. Tash, desperation, Lady C picked up on. She's right, isn't she?
Oh, she is. She is. I mean, this show, I mean, I agree with both people there, Lady Colin, and then of course Royal News Network. I feel like it was the best of the bad bunch that they put in season 1, and season 2, it's like those ones were just so bad that they didn't make the cut. Now there were a couple of moments and a couple of people I didn't mind. I quite liked Han France. He was quite fun when he was allowed to speak, but Meghan learnt nothing from her podcast. As soon as somebody started talking about themselves, that would have engaged the viewer maybe to listen a bit more. She then has to come in every single time with another story, with another anecdote, and she just ruins it. She absolutely ruins it. And then the story that again makes me laugh is she just doesn't stop creating complete and utter nonsense in every single episode. And you would have thought, this shows that it was all filmed together, because you would have thought with all of the criticism that she got for season 1, she would have taken a step back and go, maybe we should put in some extra voiceovers here, maybe we can mute me out a bit, maybe we should put in some extra bits of where I actually allow the guests to talk. And just everything about that show is so completely artificial, and she is getting desperate. The more desperate that Meghan is to come across as authentic, the more robotic that she seems.
But I'm not sure if the LA source is really right, Tash, because it wasn't like there were big revelations here. And it doesn't feel like the US media are all over this. Indeed, this week's People magazine, and we'll speak about this later, features Prince George on the cover on the week that With Love Meghan Series 2 is released. That's hardly a glowing endorsement from the magazine that stood by her through all of this.
I don't believe that. I think that Netflix know the show was terrible, and that's why they did no marketing for it whatsoever, no promotion. Meghan strangely does an interview with Bloomberg to be released on the same day, where she only talked about the show for, I think, less than 3 minutes in this entire 43-minute episode. So she's done nothing to promote or to market it. And I'd imagine because they have their chosen outlets, they obviously were not behind wanting this show to have any traction. It's almost like everybody just wants to forget it was even airing at the time. So you didn't see Us Weekly talking about it. You didn't see People magazine. There's been no promotional tools. Drew Barrymore didn't have her back on the show. It's almost like everybody just wanted the show to just quietly come in and then just slip under the radar. There is nobody that's really picked up on it. Nobody wanted to run main feature pages on it. There's no editor out there that seems to go, With Love, Season 2 Meghan, front page, front cover, here's a huge center story for everybody, because it's pretty terrible. And the fact that nobody is picking up on it just shows that people can't even hate watch her anymore.
And Tash, speaking of that Bloomberg interview, you picked up something really fascinating, writing, "Who the hell is laughing?" This is in regards to this noise that comes out of the mouth, apparently, of Emily Chang. But you write, "Her body doesn't move. Did they dub on an extra laugh to make Meghan seem more funny? What? Perhaps she has a ventriloquist hobby on the side, because that laugh didn't look or sound like it came from her." And Tash, I've looked closely at this video that you posted. I think you're right. I mean, there's no way that laugh came from her in that moment. So it shows the manipulation going on here, right?
It does. I mean, Meghan laughs at her own jokes throughout it, if you can call them jokes. They're like really tacky. You know, when you go into one of those stores or you're at the airport, you're desperately trying to find a magnet to take home for someone that you forgot, and you just have those really cheesy slogans. And they're not funny. They weren't funny on Netflix. They weren't funny on the baseball caps she tried to promote. Let us remain calm, or it's past your bread time. And it's the same thing. Meghan is just not funny. And I wondered in that moment, because that laugh did not come from Emily Chang. And then some people got confused, thinking that the person that filmed it, myself, was laughing in the background. And I was like, no, that was on the actual show. And then some people said it's crew, but that would have been taken out. That's not professional. That's Emily Chang doing the interview. You don't have crew members laughing in the background. And it just wasn't funny. So yeah, I think that people try to make Meghan come across as funny and relaxed and organic. And every time someone tries, it makes everything far, far worse.
This isn't just a family spat, it chips at institutional steadiness. Each reported ultimatum makes the monarchy look reactive, not resolute. In the US, the PR gloss is wearing thin. Even friendly media are asking tougher questions. So Charles faces a stark choice, as framed by the pundits. Grant the meeting on Harry's timeline and risk rewarding pressure, or draw a bright line and let the chips fall. Either path carries risk, but letting this cycle repeat may be the riskiest of all. Your take. Is this a genuine bid for peace, or strategic drama to buffer a bad week in Hollywood? Drop your thoughts below, tap like, and subscribe for Straight Talk Royal coverage.